Hi guys, and welcome to my review of 28 Years Later. This is eagerly anticipated and long-awaited sequel to 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later. Although it doesn't really follow the narrative of 28 Weeks Later at all, it does kind of like tend to bypass that a lot. So all the kind of the global impact of this virus, and the note that 28 weeks later ends on with Paris falling and stuff like that. All of that is, those concepts are not built on this. This kind of like really dials back to kind of the the concept of 28 days later, and just kind of like focuses on how it's kind of like affected Britain. This is a movie that I went into like really quite excited about, but also quite apprehensive about. I'm a big fan of the first two films, but I was just a bit apprehensive, just because 28 Days Later, when it came out, was such it was kind of like such a pioneering film for, and it was kind of just a shot in the arm for the subgenre of zombie films. Yeah, I said zombie, guys, deal with it. Yeah, it was just like shot in the arm, and now obviously since then we've kind of like had all of those The Walking Dead and The Last of Us and stuff like that. So I was kind of like concerned that just revisiting this now was just going to cease to feel kind of pioneering, and instead was just going to feel kind of primitive. And so yeah, basically, to get into the review, then this film obviously takes place 28 years later, after the events of 28 days later, and it's basically mainland Britain has become overrun with the infected. As a result, there's this kind of like community of who are basically holding up on this island as a way of kind of like quarantining themselves, and Britain itself has become like a quarantine to kind of like contain the virus, to stop it becoming global. Yeah, so we focus specifically in this commune of this small family of this mother, father, and son, who the mother is sick. We're not entirely, not from the rage virus. It's not specifically said what she's kind of like ill from. We do learn by the end of the film what it is, but yeah, suffice to say, she's ill. She's quite bedbound for the early parts of the film. We know that she's got some memory problems, and we basically follow the father and the son, who the father basically takes his son to the mainland as a kind of like a hunting expedition. I guess he's kind of like concluded that in the world that we kind of like living in, that it's perfectly feasible that his son is going to come up against be in this situation of kind of where it's killed or be killed, and he doesn't want to feel like his son is going to freeze in those situations, or he's going to hesitate, and he's going to be able to kind of like do what is kind of like necessary, and he just wants to kind of feel like that he just wants to feel like his son is kind of like toughened up enough to kind of like survive in this world, or at least stand a chance of surviving in this world. So he takes his son into the mainland as this kind of like, I guess, like hunting expedition for the and just training exercise for the infected. Yeah, and that's pretty much as far as I'll go in terms of plot synopsis, because obviously I don't want to kind of like lay the film out too much, obviously, for people who haven't seen it and stuff. Yeah, starting off with the positives of this film, I really enjoyed a lot of the visuals of this film, a lot of the cinematography. I think this is actually the best looking of all three of the films, I think. There were some issues with the images and visions that I didn't like so much, and I'll get onto that in a bit. But yeah, I thought there's some shots in this film that are just absolutely gorgeous. Some of the cinematography is just fantastic. It's got this kind. A lot of it was shot on iPhones. If there's a making of a documentary where they'd set up this kind of like rig of iPhones to catch all the different angles and stuff. So it still maintains that really kind of raw indie kind of like look of a 28 Days Later. So yeah, I really liked all that. I thought that the acting of this film was just really top notch, especially a specific shout out to the kid who ends up becoming the protagonist of this film, and I guess he's going to be the protagonist of this trilogy that this film is going to kickstart. I didn't actually know until a couple of days ago that this was going to be the kickstart of the trilogy, but it is. We got the second part coming quite soon, actually. People like speculated between like 6 and 12 months the next installment is going to be. So yeah, I thought that this the kid who plays the protagonist in this movie, the son, is considering the film spends so much time resting on his shoulders. I think he just did like a phenomenal job. I think he really did. In the latter half of the movie, there's some nice, really like comedic moments to counterbalance all the savagery and stuff that we're kind of like experiencing in this film. There's some nice, like really comedic moments. There's some really nice ideas where obviously there's been this sort of like commune, and some of the people in the commune, especially like the kid that we're kind of like following, have never kind of known the outside world. So all the advanced technology, like the internet and phones and stuff, are just kind of like part of this almost kind of days gone by kind of folklore kind of thing, which I really liked. I really liked the idea of kind of like presenting these like technological advancements, but then kind of like setting them in the context where it's kind of like ancient days gone by kind of like folklore, and that really leads to some really nice moments of comic relief in the latter half of the film. And yeah, there's some really nice elaborations in terms of how the virus works. I think there's for people who might have been kind of like asking questions where if a pregnant person got infected, then would the infection pass onto a child, or would the baby be protected in the womb? All those kind of like rulings kind of like get answered in this film. So there's some like nice elaborations there. There's some really creative kills and really innovative use of gore. Anyone who kind of like knows me knows how much of a gore hand, and I was not disappointed. So all you gore hands out there are not going to be disappointed by this. This film delivers in that sense, and it was really nice that it wasn't kind of like reliant on just the infected kind of taking out humans by like mauling them, and humans line of defense by shooting them. It was really quite cool to see that the humans have developed kind of like more innovative ways of like taking out the infected, and vice versa. The infected have learned more in kind of like innovative ways of taking out humans as well. So there's some really kind of like cool gnarly stuff in here. So you gore hands are not going to be disappointed. So moving more into the negatives now, there are some like, and the only real kind of like issues I had was there was moments where you get these kind of like visual cutaways that just feel really kind of jarring. I mean, don't get me wrong, we basically so we the use of the Rudyard Kipling poem Boots, that is used in the trailer for this film. So for you who've seen the trailer to 28 Years Later will know kind of a voiceover of that trailer that I'm talking about. It's a poem by Rudyard Kipling, and so it was so that's kind of utilized in this film as well, and it's accompanied by these very like cutaways of soldiers marching, which kind of fits in with the use of a poem, because that was what Rudyard Kipling had made the poem about. It was made about the repetitive marching during the Boer War and the strain that takes on the psyche. So it kind of like definitely utilized in an effective way here. It, you know, it definitely has that atmospheric, it definitely adds to the atmosphere. So it wasn't all entirely kind of like out of place, but there were just times when it was used where it was just really kind of jarring, and there were these cutaways to like medieval times, and there were just these kind of like night visions cutaways of the infected and all this, and it was just kind of like really just felt really kind of jarring and just didn't really feel out of place. But as the film progresses, it is used more sparingly stuff. But I guess the only real kind of a real negative I had with this film was the ending of this film, which I feel like people are going to be talking about certainly over the coming weeks and the coming months. The note that this film ends on just feels so out of place. It just feels so out of left field, and it's nothing like anything like overly implausible when you look at kind of like the specifics of it, and you sell in this world, you go, okay, I guess that could happen. So it's not like, you know, spaceships coming down or anything like that, but it feels grounded in that sense. But somehow when it happens, your brain just kind of rejects it. It almost kind of feels like this group of people have just kind of like wandered off a set like of a completely different movie, and they've just wandered into this film that they really don't belong in, and I feel like that's kind of like a bit more worrisome, because it's not something I feel like I can discard, like the kind of colorways I used earlier on in the film, because this is how the film chooses to end its note. It seems to be like that's going to be kind of like a launching pad for like the second film, and like I said, it just feels really out of place. So I think if you're kind of going to run with this, it just feels like that just kind of like feels like it makes me a bit more worried about what the second installment is going to bring. But overall, guys, I really enjoyed this one. I really enjoyed this installment, and it was just another fairly strong installment. Like I said, I had those couple of gripes, but generally really enjoyed this one, guys. So so thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you want to see more, don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Thank you. Bye.